Okay, welcome back. And my guest is Jiti Ogunye, and we're looking at the Naira redesign. We take it along with the Supreme Court decision and then look into matters arising on it. The Supreme Court, the federal government has gone against the Supreme Court, at least in not obeying the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. That itself is surprising to many who recall that the president used to say when he was asked to do difficult things, throughout his years of service, that, well, you see, you must remember, I'm not a military head of state anymore. Now I'm a Democrat, democratically elected, subject to rule of law, and we must obey the law. I don't know, GT, this is more your area, but I just seem to recall that position of the president.
Yeah, just to conclude on my thought before the
Sure.
break, the CBN did not do this alone. The president approved of it, so the president is responsible. And this is the answer to the number of people who at the initial point were saying that the CBN was responsible, the federal government was not responsible, so the state ought not to have triggered the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court under Section 232, which is the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and therefore they ought to have gone to the Federal High Court, for example, to sue the CBN. That suggestion has been poo-pooed over time because the president has come out clearly to show Nigerians that he was the one directing the affairs on the policy. And two, the impossibility, or rather the incongruity of states now going to the Federal High Court to sue an agency of the federal government, i.e. the CBN, has also been established. Now, the point for me
and sorry to interrupt. Also, as you know, completing this melee, the president's party itself has said it identifies with the governors.
No, look, the president obviously is isolated on this matter. He is, and that's why he has to desperately, if you ask me, unprecedentedly, have to be making a broadcast from Ethiopia to Nigerians. And in that broadcast, analysts have not yet analyzed it thoroughly. That was supposed to be a state broadcast. He meshed the two in that same broadcast. Because they have been portrayed as somebody who was sabotaging the effort of his party by his governors, he then had to assure everybody in that same broadcast,
yes,
a state broadcast, to campaign for his flag bearer. He is under pressure and he knows that he's been isolated. Let's face it, he is isolated. And I have kept saying that rigidity is no principle. And stone-heartedness is no courage. Look, you can be firm and then be amenable to popular opinion, to superior arguments. I'm saying that on this occasion, this president got it wrong.
He got it wrong.
He got it wrong. There's no dancing around it. And I know that, yes, the president had shown that on certain state matters, he could be very firm, but wrong. Let's give an example. The service ships that were replaced at long last, it took the whole country, traditional rulers in the north, governors, to openly break ranks with the president on the service ships before he could. His own appointees, he had difficulty in removing them from office. And when he eventually did, who is that person now that will not say that from that point when they were relieved of their duties, before he compensated them by appointing them ministers, ambassadors, and the likes, that we've seen a change in the Northwest that was ridden with banditry. The governor of Kaduna State, yes, the same governor of Kaduna State, had to openly lambast the federal government and say, we know where they are. We talk to them on phone. We've been asking you endlessly. Go and bomb them, simultaneously in Niger and all that. And look at, so that today, the immediate threat to the possibility of having an election is no longer insecurity, but the contrivance of Naira unavailability, contrived by the government itself. Meaning that...
Not to mention the fuel.
Not to mention the fuel.
Oh, no.
Meaning that on certain occasions when everybody has seen the way, the president, who is the leader, who is the president, who should ordinarily, as Chief Obafemi submitted in his book, Thoughts on Nigerian Constitution, should have or be imbued with a higher mental magnitude than the led. Because that's the hallmark of leadership. The leader must see further than the led. He must hear more than the led. He must think more than the led. He must be more farsighted than the led. So on many occasions, the president has to play a tailist role, meaning that other people will have seen what is correct before the president grudgingly will be persuaded. That's not leadership. And I'm saying that it's wrong. There's no dancing around it. If he's saying that you want to fight corruption in the system, illicit election, is the CBN and the corruption agency. It's the job of CBN that ought to maintain price stability as one of the core of its functions. Is it his duty to be fighting to ensure that there is free and fair election?
It might not even.
It's not the duty of INEC and the anti-corruption agencies and the government itself in the final analysis. What's the business of CBN with the election other than keeping the so-called sensitive materials? Okay? Which, again, for me, is suspect, if you had to ask me. And I'm not sowing seeds of distrust and all that. If you are not faithful with the issue of Naira, election is coming, and you are the one to keep the sensitive materials, why should I trust you? I'm saying that this president got it wrong. There's no other way. And now, on the issue of the decision of the Supreme Court, I've also had people dance around the issue. What is the issue here? The Supreme Court, before 10th of February, said, maintain the status quo. We extend it to the 15th. And after that, the president then made a broadcast and said, I'm aware that the courts have intervened, meaning that the court decision was known to the president. But he then said that because I believe in the rule of law, he then did the exact opposite of what the Supreme Court said should not be done. Who does that? And so certain persons have also explained that away by saying that, oh, the president was misadvised. I'm tired. I'm tired of listening to that excuses being given. The president was misadvised. Who appointed the advisors anyway?
You know, the way we go about our business in Nigeria, people wouldn't believe it. I don't know how relevant it is. Perhaps it's irrelevant. Governor Emefiele, CBN Governor Emefiele, wanted to be president. That's, just to show you what the kind of, he actually, he bought the form. We saw cars, we saw vehicles loaded up, with his picture and all of that. So that is just a little one, by the way, trying to understand this. And now this is the same man. Between him and the president, they can pull this number, and thousands, not to say hundreds of thousands of Nigerians are suffering as a result. Well, as I said, it's interesting to hear that even if we want to say Bola Ahmed Tinubu was being politically correct, he has said that he has nothing against it. But Uche in Anambra, so sorry to have kept you waiting. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yere.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, the barrister.
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, Uche.
Yeah, this is Uche. I'm calling from Nnewi.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Yere. I think, the way we are overflowing this issue.
Which issue is being overflogged? Which one? Be specific.
No, when they say that the president is not respecting the court order, I mean, is this the first time? Is this the first time that the president is not respecting court order? Why are we talking about this one as if it's just the first time? But the president has this history of not obeying court orders. We all are in this country now. And we are just talking about it now. Everybody's talking. Even the governors that are supposed to be talking all this while, that each time that a court, in fact, I was the time that the president went to an MBA, the lawyer there should get me witness. He went to MBA. He was talking about something that how do you put it, that is above the rule of law. That's national security. It's above the rule of law.
Okay.
He said it now.
Okay.
Okay, national security, rule of law. Are we not under the rule of law, even the national security?
So, Uche, to understand you, what you are saying, Uche, sorry to interrupt you, to understand you is that you are not surprised by this, seems to be what you are saying.
Yes, we are not supposed to be surprised now.
So that's the overflogging thing. I hear you, sir. I hear you. Thank you very much for calling in. And in fairness to Uche, even though he didn't say so expressly, but since when did Nigerian presidents begin to obey the courts? Because you got to cut the president some slack in that he's not alone in disobeying court orders. It seems to be the point he's bringing about.
I can't see the wood from the trees. I can't see, and I can't endorse that point of view. That point of view is circulating in the polity now. And for me, that is a rationalization of infamy and continued disobedience to court orders. So the president has done it in the past. This is not the first time he's doing it. So we must condone that.
Or he's not even the first president.
Yes, we must condone that. That's balderdash. Due respect. And for those who are saying that it's being overflogged,
I think
go and check.
Uche was being ironic.
Go and check. No, I don't think so. Go and check the records out. You didn't mention Nnamdi Kanu, but when the order was not obeyed, I think that we had a show here. Yes. I think that was the last time I came here. And we referenced that and said that, no, the Court of Appeal has made a pronouncement on it. When Showore's order was being disobeyed, we said what we had to say, and so on and so forth. So you cannot condemn people who, in all sincerity and in good conscience, are saying, this is not right, that, this is not the first time, and so we must condone it. And in any case, because people didn't say anything about injustice yesterday, they are forever, prohibited from saying so. Is that what you're saying? I can buy that kind of argument. What I can see is that there's a contumacious, indeed flagrant, and arrogant disobedience of the order of a court. And people need to know this. People need to know this.
But you see, as the police would, in investigating a matter, even lawyers also are interested in motives. What would be the motive?
Look.
What would be the motive?
The motive is, the motive may just be that I want to demonstrate that I'm not a psychologist, but I've been trying to psychoanalyze this administration for a long time. And it's difficult for me because there are things that you don't need to do, and yet you do.
Because I suggested to Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information, that the president was working against the candidate of his own party, no matter how unknowingly. And Lai was scandalized. He was scandalized. But so what is it? We're talking about motive.
Based on what the president has done, the APC presidential candidate shouldn't be winning any election. I'm serious.
Apart from the fact that sometimes the downtrodden, the bullied, the oppressed, things can sort of swing, perhaps, it has been known, say,
No. I get you. I understand that. I am not saying that is decisive, but I am saying that the logical, because you are talking about the same party. And so what then did you see? You seen the party, their governors, struggle to say, this is Mr. President policy. It's not a party program. So that the voting public, the electorate, will not mistake the president's singular action as the action of their party and then punish their candidate for that. They've said it often. But I'm saying that given what the president has done, it's so severe. And the president can say, okay, be patient and all that. No, it's not done that way. And let me make this point, sir. The executive branch of government is very large. Comprises the president at the apex, the federal executive, the ministers, and MDAs, law enforcement agencies, anti-corruption agencies, statutory bodies and corporations. All these are in the executive branch of government. It's bad enough for a police officer or an IGP to disobey a court order. But when an apex executive authority in the country, the Constitution in Section 5 vests the executive authority of the Federation in the President, defies an apex court, you are conjuring up a constitutional crisis indeed. Because that's the pinnacle of the judiciary. And this president, although at the initial point had said openly at an AP Pali, conference that year, that the judiciary is my headache. The president says so. Nigerians don't recall this. That then shouldn't mean that when an occasion like this arises, you shouldn't obey the court order. More so when, if you ask me, the Supreme Court intervened to save the face of the federal government.
Exactly.
It was a face they should have clutched to that order. They should have embraced it wholeheartedly and should have thanked and then used that opportunity in-house to say, CBN governor, upon all the things that you have done, you are contesting, I didn't do anything against you. I even renew your mandate. Is this how you are to pay me?
Yes.
Okay, I inherited you from Goodluck Jonathan. In that election, my party was accusing you of using your CBN to flood the country with dollars. People have forgotten about this. On that occasion. But I tolerated you. I didn't demand your resignation. So you knew that this thing was not going to work. Mint, you claim you had the capacity. Where is the capacity now? The president should have brought out a statesman in him, if he's in there, and then do what is right. But for him to then come out and say, I'm aware of your order, but, this is what I'm going to do.
So we don't know what the motive...
I can understand.
We don't know what the motive for the action is, apart from what
even
the president
does
has
not
stated.
know the thought of man. I don't know what the motive of this president is.
Well, the president has said that he wants to leave this place better than he met it, and that is what he wants to be his legacy. And this confusion, it might seem like that to us, is what we're going to have to pass through.